So we're here with Bill and Ryan, 2/3 of the Invincible Podcast. Guys, how is it hanging?
It's going well. How are you guys doing?
So good.
We're doing okay. We made it through Invincible. We're doing pretty great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How long did it take you guys to do all three compendiums? Because you're doing the compendiums, right?
Well, that's how we're breaking up,
Yeah.
the episodes or whatever. But I think it maybe took us 3 weeks to read, maybe a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of Invincible.
So you guys have probably the best Invincible podcast out there. That's pretty easy to say.
Oh,
right?
wow, thanks.
I think it's pretty safe to say.
So what made you guys want to just like jump? I mean, we all read Invincible. It's great. But what made you guys want to like jump in and just start like, hey, we should do an Invincible podcast?
You know what's weird is I remember Ryan is the mastermind behind it all. Like, I might be like the raw talent of it all, but
right. You're the pretty
Ryan
face behind it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Behind the podcast where you can't see my face. That was a title and a little trophy that Ryan gave me, the prettiest face on the podcast. Where you just came to me and you're just like, I have an idea. I want to do an Invincible podcast.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Because what would happen was, I think we were at a PF Chang's, and we were talking, and I remember we spent like the entire time talking about one of the latest issues, and it just hit us, and it was like, we should actually do a podcast about this, because we would spend, like, me, Bill, TJ, we would spend hours talking about every new issue every time it came out. And we had always been fans of podcasts, mostly video game ones, and then slowly over time some comic book ones and everything. And it just got to the point where like it came out of us wanting an Invincible podcast for ourselves. We wished that had existed, so we were like, let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah. And now, like, we had to totally break tradition for, what's it been, 2 years now? Or a year?
It's been a little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years. That we used to just get together and talk about it. Like, and now we don't even text. Yeah. The Wednesday that an Invincible comes out, we don't say shit to each other.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to wait. And if we record the week after that, we can't say one thing, because then that's like the whole raw, our first reactions. Because we wanted to simulate that conversation that we would have.
Exactly.
So, what are your favorite moments in the whole series overall?
Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
All right. One of my favorites, Conquest, is everybody's. We talk about that all the time. Shawshank. So I think should we leave Conquest out of it?
All right, we'll leave Conquest out because that's a given.
Other than Conquest. Okay. All right. So anything with Battle Beast, Battle Beast versus Thrag was,
oh my god,
was heart pounding and gut wrenching. Like that last panel where he squeezed his fucking heart, I wanted to just quit.
Yeah.
And then when he was wearing him, I'm like, you fucking asshole. Like, what? Like, salt in the wound. But anything with that, but I remember that because that was like over the course of so many issues, and it was just like 2 pages per issue, but it was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just reread that trade like a few days ago, and I forgot like how awesome it was to just have like this little break in like the drama to this high impact action, visceral guts coming out and all that kind of stuff. Oh my god, it was a lot better than I remembered.
That is where it's at. That and Dinosaurus all day.
Oh man, Dinosaurus.
Yeah.
I feel like thinking about some of my favorite moments, I tend to gravitate towards, like, the first thing I think of is obviously the big moments like the Battle Beast fight or the Conquest fight, but I always tend to gravitate towards smaller moments. Like, I love the Powerplex issue. I love that it's written from a completely different point of view. It, flips tropes on its head, and it, gives us a villain that comes from what it was essentially the first big fight in the comics. Like, this guy, grew up hating the Invincible and Omni-Man because of their fight and how it killed his sister and everything like that. I also love like little things, like I love Africa. I love the Africa storyline with Amber and Eve and that whole love triangle, and the way it ends with Angstrom Levy. And I know that's one of TJ's favorite things of all time with the comic is Angstrom Levy in issue 33 and being pulled through the different dimensions and everything like that. So for me, a lot of the things I love most about Invincible are the little things and those details, because I've always been a person that loves the callbacks and the little things that, kind of make it what it is. Like the final issue is just perfect because of that.
As a single tear falls down. There was one running thread that I wish he went like through the whole book. I wish that garbage bag made it all the way through the whole series. You know what I mean?
It was
that would have
close.
been amazing.
Oh, dude, I was
close.
Yeah, it definitely was like the cap going up and like the garbage bag in England or whatever.
What was that? 80 something? It was during the Monax attack. In Paris or in France, where was the last time I think we saw him when he died.
I remember dying laughing too when it was on what the planet the planet that Oliver lives on and the coalition where Mark was on the toilet. And that scene had me die. Telescria, yeah. I was dying laughing
because he ate Haluma's food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But what about you guys? What?
You just posted that the other day on Twitter.
Yeah.
That whole bathroom scene.
I did. I said sometimes Invincible speaks to me on levels I had no idea, and I think Otley retweeted it and just wrote gross.
Oh my gosh, the moment with it was gross enough, but Eve is what takes it to the next level. Her coming in there and him just being like, "Don't look at it, don't look at it," and it's
watch your hair, like your hair was gonna dip in the Yeah. So, what about you guys? What's one of your favorite arcs minus Conquest?
Well, I guess if we're taking out Conquest, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Angstrom Levy stuff. Like, I'm with you on that one. Like, that's when the point, the story was always great, but when Angstrom Levy was introduced, I feel like it never really got better, but it never really got worse either. It just, plateaued to this great level of awesome, but Angstrom Levy just, really amped up the book to, a level where I'm like, this is amazing. I love this book.
Yeah, I would say everything associated with Levy. Anytime he makes an appearance, and I think it's, 3 major arcs that he pops up in, what he brings with him and what follows are just some of the best that Invincible is ever at. Especially with where he pulls out all the other Mark Grayson doppelgangers, and then the after effects of that too, where they're rocketed into the sand dimension, and they end up capturing Angstrom Levy, killing him, and Mark is left there after his other double is killed by Robot. It's just, no matter what, if Levy is involved, it is so it got so real for Mark at that moment.
Yeah.
Was it? Did you guys feel the same way I did when he died? Because Robot chopped his head off, right? Was it Robot that did?
Yep.
Yeah, and he was chained up, not even awake. It was just kind of pathetic.
Yeah. Well, Mohawk Mark was, experimenting on him,
right,
trying to get his ability to teleport,
get back and stuff. I felt bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say he went out with a whimper, but I wish it almost was a bigger thing,
I think that was kind of the point, though, right? That was a turning point in the series, and it was hey, we're gonna make such a change and such a big deal that even this amazing, crazy villain, whose story, for all purposes, was pretty much wrapped up.
It went full circle. Yeah, it did.
So it was he's dead. What's more important is the fact that Robot just betrayed you, and you're stranded in this other dimension.
Oh yeah, deuces, I'm out of here. What did you think of the whole Robot turn? Because did you ever feel it was ever coming from when he was first introduced? Because he looks like a looming character. You know what I mean?
I think that's the common Kirkman misdirection, where he makes you think the obvious, and then he makes you forget about what you initially thought. Oh, Robot's bad. He did all this stuff when he stole the DNA right in his hand. You're like, ooh, I don't like him. But then Kirkman was like, he's a good guy. And you're like, oh, he's a good guy. I trust you. And then he's like, no, he's a fucking bad guy, actually.
Yeah, originally his helmet or, head was very menacing. It had that skull kind of look to
that
it.
almost looked like a grimace in it, too.
Yeah, it had that grimace.
Yep.
And so he was always very menacing looking. And, everything leading up to finding out that he was actually the, being remotely controlled by that mutated guy in the tank, leading up to that, it is all misdirection on, what his intentions are.
Yeah, I remember that being I think the biggest twist / shocking moment, in my opinion, when he just went through and just started just destroying everybody. And did you guys read like the spin-offs too? Like Capes and Guarding the Globe and all that?
I read Guarding the Globe and the Invincible Universe. I haven't gotten to Capes yet, or Brit, but I've read like the big ensemble pieces that like more correlate with the main title.
But that, I mean, I didn't see it coming at all, and I don't really remember it being kind of.
It's funny because going back now, you can kind of see Robot acting weird when he came back from the Flaxon Dimension, especially his conversation with Amanda, and you're like, oh, I can kind of see how he laid the groundwork. But I remember at the time,
being completely oblivious, being like, okay, like we're along for the ride.
Yep.
So, I mean, in the whole Invincible universe, whole thing, is there any besides Best Tiger? If you could throw out besides Conquest, then I'm gonna throw out besides Best Tiger. What is like your favorite character in the whole scope of things here?
That really throws a wrench in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So TJ, I'll speak for TJ. TJ's is Rexplode.
Yeah.
Like he has no qualms about talking about how much he loves him.
I think it's safe to say we can't say Invincible. Because that's a given. I mean,
he didn't put that down as a rule. Though.
Well, I know.
Yeah, Troy didn't say that's a rule.
I guess I should have put it in print. Damn it.
Damn. Yeah, Invincible, Conquest, Best Tiger. Those are all.
Yeah, I would say like badass characters who I just love to see would be Dinosaurus, and because I just love how confident he is and how much resolve he really has. Like when he was fighting Thrag, bit him, broke his teeth, and still started to like try to save Mark. That just I just like. I don't know, like his character, I love him so much because he started out as just a stupid dinosaur. Like, you know what I mean? Like just a cliche, like weird character that had underwear on, and then he grew into this really awesome character that even at the end he's like, Mark, I'm not gonna stop. Like you need to stop me because I've done what I need to do. So you know what I'm gonna say? I talked myself into dinosaurs. I'm gonna say dinosaurs. Yeah. Okay.
Favorite small time, like I already said, Powerplex. I love Powerplex as a character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a really crazy story, and his arc is really cool. His whole breakdown in his final issue with Invincible is awesome. And we gotta give Alan a shout out too. Like every time you'd see Alan in the series, and it was always like just enough Alan. You know, you'd go 10, 15 issues without really seeing him. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, I love this guy. Yeah. I can't wait to read about him. And he'd have some of the greatest moments throughout the whole series. So I got to give a shout out to Alan too.
What about your favorite character who is under the age of, let's say, 10, that is a female?
Definitely Monster Girl.
Oh. I was going to say Tara, but what about you guys?
Well, if those are the specifics, I guess you'd have to say Le Bruiser.
Oh, I
guess.
Oh, is she dog years or?
I didn't calculate. Damn it! I didn't put any specifics. God damn it! Let's just do it. Crash it all down. It's all over. But I mean, I might be cliche in saying it, but Nolan is really good in this too, because he goes from like really liking him but then right as you think he's like kind of done everything he can, he gets that sweet handlebar mustache at the end, and you're like, holy fuck, this guy just reinvented himself. You kidding?
That you're envious of the mustache, aren't you? That's what it is.
Of course I have mustache envy. Also, I just want to applaud Cory Walker in a lot of this, because his design work in a lot of the issues that he does, I really love.
Oh yeah, especially like if you're reading the sketchbook sections in the back of the trades or the hardcovers or anything like that, Cory Walker is responsible for creating the majority of the costumes, the designs. I think even naming a lot of them. It's amazing.
Plus, his work in the final issue was phenomenal. Like that, like we always talk about how it's kind of jarring when you went back from him to Otley and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of jarring. But for some reason, that final issue, of all issues, you wouldn't want that to happen, and it didn't. It felt so nostalgic. Good. He did such an awesome job at trying to like blend styles almost. You know what I mean? But the color had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I didn't really know that I would like it so much when it got to the end, because it's like a callback, like, hey, it's kind of like I started here, I'm kind of going to end it out. You almost wanted to see Otley go to the end, but then it's so well done, you're like, man, I'm just gonna sit back and just applaud. That was really great.
That's how I felt. Yeah, that's how we felt too. We wanted Otley to finish it, and by the end of it, we're like, fuck that.
No,
That
this
was
was
perfect. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dave, what did you think? Because you finally got to the ending now. So what did you? I mean, we've probably already spoken about it, but what did you think of the ending when you finally got there?
I really dug it. I heard, without having it spoiled for me, I heard a lot of people kind of complained that the ending happened too quickly, and I don't know if I'd agree with that. I mean, it was quickly in the sense that a lot was covered very quickly at the very tail end there, but that seemed a lot more like an epilogue to me. Like, Mark Grayson's story kind of ended with Otley, it seemed like, and then it just kind of followed his daughter, his son, and a little piece of him to kind of wrap up there. If anyone's seen the show 6 Feet Under, it reminded me quite a bit of the 6 Feet Under finale, if anyone has seen that.
Yeah.
Where it just...
The fast forward.
Yeah, where it just kind of fast forwards. Yeah. It takes it, like, all the way to the end of the story. Obviously, Invincible has more that it can cover, but it just felt very final. Like, it didn't leave a whole lot of unanswered questions, and I didn't need, like, another 100 issues to explore that. I liked that they just kind of went through the highlights, and then it was a very fitting conclusion to Mark, and if it ever does come back... like, let's explore his kids. You know, Mark's story is done, and we got the cap on that. And now if he does want to bring Invincible back, then it can just kind of follow his legacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, leading up to it, there was a lot of speculation that, everybody's going to die. These people are going to die. These people are going to die. It's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah. Since you had just read the final volume, like, was that kind of what you were expecting too? Because it was kind of jarring to be like, it's a happy ending.
Oh, it's a happy ending in Invincible. That's kind of weird.
Right.
No, I really enjoyed the fact that it wasn't a bloodbath. And I'm a blood and guts guy, so that wouldn't have been a turnoff by any means. But it seemed kind of like what you were saying. Like, that's expected. And the fact that he kind of went out on a really classy, like, full family approach to it, where they all essentially live happily ever after, despite the fact that Mark has made some mistakes with his own children's upbringing, and he kind of turned his back on his son and all that. They still all kind of get together there at the end, and it felt perfect. Like, it wasn't happy throughout their lives, you know, they had hardships that they fought, but for the end of the book, like, it capped off so sweetly that I was like, bravo, you know. I don't want to see any of these people die. Like, I've come to really love these characters. So the fact that they did get, like, a little piece of a happy ending there for the time being, like, that was very satisfying.
All right, so I'm going to pose a question to both of you guys and Bill, one that I don't think we've ever talked about before. If we can get one story out of the following, which would you want it to be? The story about Robot coming back and surpassing Immortal somehow. The story of the new Battle Beast, the story of, like, all these unanswered questions. The Angstrom Levy son with chainsaw, the fox
thing.
The story of Marky coming to hate Mark and going after him. All those unanswered questions. Which of those unanswered questions that we got would you want to see the most? Maybe the coalition war, the fight with the Viltrumites versus the coalition. Like if we're gonna get an issue that kind of dives into one of those, which one is just, like, gnawing at you that you just want to see?
Oh man, because Invincible turned out to be such almost like a family centric title, I think I might go with Marky, just to see that strife between family stuff. I think I would really like that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't think that he goes full villain, but I would have liked to have seen, like, his inner demons, like, he can never surpass his father. The one thing that had me, like, is that he was born out of hate. You know what I mean? As opposed to Terra, who was born out of love. So just to see, like, a different... it would almost, like, be living in one of those alternate dimension Invincibles where, like, he didn't have a great upbringing. You know what I mean? Like, what would that be like?
Yeah.
That's not what I would pick. What would you say, Dave? I want to go last.
God, because I love the Angstrom Levy stuff and what he brings. As soon as I saw his son pop up, my immediate thought was like, oh shit. And I don't even need to have it answered. I just love that he's out there. Same with, like, the Battle Beast and all that. But no, I think I agree with Troy on the fact that, like, such a big part of Invincible was fathers and sons, it seems only fitting that it would kind of continue with his son, and with all the reasons that you just gave on the fact that, like, Mark had this wonderful upbringing with his father, and things still went really shitty for him in a lot of ways. And then you throw in his own son, who's had a horrible upbringing, and the fact that, yeah, he was essentially a child of rape, and he's been kind of ignored and cast aside in his eyes. Like, I think that leaves for a really interesting take on a character who you're supposed to be rooting for, and he's essentially a hero, but I can't imagine he does a whole lot of good in his early years.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought about that, is that he was actually, not figuratively or metaphorically, but physically and literally abandoned by his people. Like, he was the only Viltrumite on Earth. Am I wrong? Because everybody else left with Mark.
There's Molly, right? His sister?
His sister.
And that's the only other.
Right, we didn't see. But, I mean, imagine being the only human left and watching your entire race go, including your father.
And make the universe a better place
and
without
to make
you.
the universe a better place, and then leaving you on Earth like this little shithole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would suck.
Especially with the ability to fly there.
Wow,
to
there's
go
a
there.
lot. There's a lot of story there.
Yeah, so much
There's a lot.
resentment.
What was? Oh yeah. What was your final answer though, Bill?
My final answer will always be Battle Beast.
Really?
You have a stupid smirk on your face like that.
To any question.
Yeah, because Battle Beast. What you know? But because there was such a build up there, and I almost felt robbed. You know, where they were like, oh, there is another, and then we thought so much about, like, oh my god, is it a hybrid with that fin head alien that he was having sex with, or
Fresha.
yeah, and then, like, we were trying to figure out, like, how old he or she would be, and all that stuff. So I was, like, excited to see her, but I feel like I want to see the story between Marky and like
now after talking
and that
about
after time. There's so much story.
It's amazing
there.
because there is, like, we've said it again and again, like, this is a family story. Ironically, like, it's the daughter of Battle Beast, the son of Angstrom Levy, Marky's son, who's repeating the mistakes of his own father. Like, this is all repeating, and I love everything that we just said. And ironically, I mean, or whatever, conveniently, I'm gonna say the other thing. I actually would love to see the battle between the Coalition and the Viltrumites. And I think I'm really dwelling on that because we just finished our review discussion or whatever of Tech Jacket, and I love Tech Jacket. And we ended that discussion with, like, oh yeah, where did Tech Jacket's story leave off? Oh, that's right, fighting against the Viltrumites. You know, Space Racer fighting against the Viltrumites. That new Battle Beast fighting against the Viltrumites. So all of them were teamed up with the Coalition with Alan. Like, why? You know, like, what were their motivations? What was the Coalition like? How did they get to that point? And I don't know. I just think that's interesting too. I want to see those side characters. I want to see Tech Jacket and Alan and Space Racer and this new Battle Beast fighting against them. And wasn't that when? Oh, and Ursel, getting more of Ursel during that, and Terra's decision to stay out of it. I don't know. That's cool too.
So we just listed, like, everything.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to know all of the loose ends.
Well, it's a Kirkman book, so he's got to have at least, like, 40 plot threads going in one issue. So I don't think there's any way we wouldn't get all that.
So, like, when Kirkman announced this whole series to begin with, he wanted it to be a book where he wrote it for a while and then handed it off to somebody else. Do you still wish in the back of your head that was the case?
No.
Right now, no.
No,
Not after the ending we got.
Yeah, I would have ended up, I think, resenting it. And no matter what, there's tone shifts and stuff like that when you get a new writer. And it's so nice to have, like, Invincible was always, like, it wanted to like, you know, overturn the tropes and not be another Batman that just writer, you know, illustrator. And that's the only way it could have ended, is with Kirkman and Otley and Cory Walker.
And I remember us thinking, like, when this was announced, like, okay, that kind of sounds like, him just saying, like, oh yeah, this is the only way Invincible would end because it's flipping it on its head, like, just like I've been doing the entire time. And it's like, yeah, but also Ryan Otley doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And also you've got a lot of other things going on, so it's kind of convenient that that's also a reason. But in the end, I completely agree. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way. And of course I want more Invincible written by other writers and drawn by other artists and everything like that. And that's why I love Invincible Universe and, you know, Astounding Wolfman and Tech Jacket and everything, because we can still get that. We got that with Invincible Presents Adam Eve and Rexplode, and we still can. I mean, I'm hopeful that maybe someday we will get more stories in this universe, but I'm glad that it started and ended, definitively. We got 3 compendiums, we got 12 hardcovers, we got 25 trades or whatever it is, and like that's a nice stamp to put on it.
Well, wrapping up, you guys, is there anything we should tell the public on why they should read this book? Like we've already gushed about it so much, so it should be an easy answer. But like, what makes Invincible special compared to any other superhero book out there?
It ruins everything else. I mean, anytime I'm reading something else, it's like, man, this is really good, But I mean, Invincible will always have that. It's hard to beat at this point, and it's kind of like there's a reason people have flocked to The Walking Dead, and are at this point especially comparing it to the comics and everything, and Invincible's gonna blow up someday. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. We've got the rumblings. It's starting. There's the animated show. There's the movie and everything like that. Like, jump in now. Appreciate the comic. I mean, and the great thing about it is that you can read all of it now. And then, it's a complete series. It's not like, it's going to be running the same time as movies and everything like that. And it's just, it's really special. It has everything in it. It has the humor. It has the ridiculous action. And it's just heart. It's got a lot of heart, and it's really good.
It's for anyone who's like tired and like overwhelmed with everything else that's out there. It's nice to go back to Invincible and know that that's the only book you have to read, and that it is literally leaps and bounds in terms of writing, like the pacing of it. In the beginning is a little slow, but still, just the pacing, the tone, comedy, gore, like all that stuff, all in one is just so easy. It's so easy to read and to digest. Like we have the new readers, and my wife Liz, who watches Grey's Anatomy, you know what I mean, couldn't stop reading Invincible. Like, this is someone who's never really read a comic book before, and yet can digest something like Invincible, because you don't need to, like, where the fuck do I start with Spider-Man or Batman or anything else, you know what I mean? And not to mention, I think that it's funny because Invincible came out, when the comic book industry was very overwhelming and robust, and there's just so much stuff, especially on Image and the independent comics, and it still overcame all those things because it was so different. And I feel like we had a conversation about Invincible is going to come out too late. People are going to be tired of it. People are already getting tired of Deadpool. Like, Deadpool 2 came out, more of the same. Cool, we like it, but Deadpool 3, is it going to happen? Probably not, because it's just going to be more of the same stuff. I feel like Invincible is almost going to be a breath of fresh air when it comes out finally.
Hopefully it's going to do the same. You're saying hopefully it'll do the same thing in other media that it did in comics.
I 100% think so, because Deadpool is gore with the comedy kind of aspect of it, but Invincible always it has consequences. Like, every punch that's thrown, you feel it, and that's what's missing from like this day and age. And I feel like it's going to stand up above, the crowd.
All right, so besides the Invincible podcast, which you guys became famous for, are you guys doing anything else now that Invincible's wrapped and you have maybe a little more time on your hands?
So we actually started a monthly podcast, because Invincible is still bi-weekly right now, but of Kirkman and Lorenzo De Felici's new comic book, Oblivion Song. So that's coming out each month, and it follows the same format. We get together and shoot the shit about the comic book, and
and each month it comes out, the Friday after the newest issue, and we've been having a blast with that, because it's 5 issues deep right now. So it's really great. It's a really good Kirkman book, and it's exciting to talk about it every month.
And it was fun to get issue 1, start the podcast with issue 1.
Yeah, because we didn't start Invincible till, it was well into the series.
Until a year later, it's like, it's ending, and we're like,
by the way,
shit.
it's ending. But it was pretty cool to get on the ground floor of a comic, and right off the bat we have Lorenzo's blessing. He did the logo for us, and actually get to start up a whole new community of people who love that comic book too, and that's fun.
There you have it. Well, guys, Bill, Ryan, thanks for joining us tonight. It was a real blast to talk to you guys. You guys are super cool. Don't be a stranger. How about that? Can I throw that out there?
Yeah, for real. No, thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Have a good night, guys.